I'd like to call this meeting of the Northwest Local School District Board of Education to order. Larry, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mr. Detzel?
Here.
Mrs. Detzel?
Here.
Mr. Harlow?
Here.
Mr. Heather?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here. I'd like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item is the approval of minutes.
Yes, this is for the special meeting, July 8th. And the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved.
Second.
So let's, one of you move for that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Pam and
that's
Jim
the wrong
can't,
one. I was
Pam and
not
Jim
on that
can't
one.
move for the.
Okay. I will move.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call the roll. I think it's just going to show as 3. Okay, the motion carries 3 to 2 abstentions as the Detzels were not here for that meeting. So we'll move on to the next item. Minutes of the regular meeting, June 18th.
Yes, the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would like to mention that on page 149, the name Mark needs to be changed to the name Greg, and Mr. Bertram's making those changes. So other than that, the minutes are clear. Larry, please call the roll. Any motion carries 5-0. Our next item is special recognition.
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Pauletta Crowley, who's going to recognize some spring athletes.
Good evening. We have 4 very special student athletes here this evening from Northwest High School who qualified for the Ohio State Tournament in their spring sports this year. And to recognize them, we have the athletic director, Mr. Joe Pollack, who will come up and introduce our players.
Thank you and good evening. As Mrs. Crawley said, we had 4 of our male track and field athletes compete at the Ohio State, or the Ohio High School Athletic Association state championships in early June. We'll recognize these individuals. We'll also recognize them tonight because along the way they were able to set school records. And one of the tricky things about track is being in the spring and also sometimes going into early June, you don't really have a great venue to acknowledge the school records and give out the plaques. We have our awards kind of at the end of May, and then they're still competing, at the district level, the regional level, and then the state level. Before we bring them up, I do want to introduce our principal, Mrs. Susan Smith, is here. Also, we have several of our coaches, Tyson Cunningham, Kelly Young, and Jameel Trimble are here. Miss anybody? Okay. So I appreciate you guys joining us. Coach Roy Spence could not be here tonight. She wasn't feeling well. Again, these are 4 great young men, represented us very well throughout the season, and they worked really hard. And the fact that these school records that we're acknowledging tonight as well were set in postseason competition, district track meet, the regional track meet, and then the state track meet, shows that they're peaking at the right time. That's a testament to their hard work, their effort, and also the effort of our coaches and the quality of instruction they provide. So we're very proud of our coaches and also the 4 young men here tonight. And the great thing is they're all back next year. So first we'll bring up our junior, Dion Goins, recognized in the 4x200 meter relay, and also a school record holder in the 4x200 meter relay. Okay, I believe the 4x200 meter relay set the school record at the regional championships that got them into the state meet. Next up is junior Mylan Baldwin. Okay, sophomore Malik Beverly. Malik qualified in the long jump and the 4x200 meter relay. Malik set the long jump at the district meet at Winton Woods this year, so the first level of postseason competition in the state meet. And finally, three school records that fell this year belong to junior Devon Jackson. He qualified for the 4x200 meter relay on the state qualifying team, a record-breaking team there, and also was able to qualify in the 100 meter dash and 200 meter dash. So he qualified in 3 events to represent Northwest in the state championships. He placed 7th in the state in the 100 meter dash and 9th in the state in the 200 meter dash. So he's a 3-time state qualifier in the 100 and also again this year the 200 and 4x2. So please welcome junior Devon Jackson. Yeah, sure. So again, Devon Jackson, 3 school records, the 100 meter dash school record and 200 meter dash school record he set at the state meet in Columbus, and then the district meet was the 4x200 meter relay school record. And again, Malik Beverly, long jump and 4x2 school records at the district meet. Dion Goins, 4x200 meter school record in the district meet. And Mylan Baldwin, 4x200 meter relay record, district meet.
Okay, at this time, if we could have Mr. Unger and Dr. Jackson present their district award.
Okay. Mylan Baldwin.
Everyone pretty smiles, not this Thank you.
Dion Goins. Devon Jackson.
It's a little bit hard there. 1, 2, 3.
And Malik Beverly.
Thank you.
I just want to take a second to congratulate all of you. I know Jim and I had the chance to see all of you participate at the regional meet. It was very exciting. It's even more exciting to know that you're going to be back and do it again next year. So congratulations.
Joe, I was wondering if you could tell me, as a former long jumper, I'm almost embarrassed to ask this question because I never even made it to the district, but how far did Malik long jump?
I believe it was 22 feet 6 inches.
Oh, jeez. That's about 4 feet longer than my best jump. Good job.
The state record that day over at Winton Woods, the top 2 guys, they had the longest.
How
pace in the
far did
state.
you go, Joe?
What was the,
I think it was like 24 something.
24?
yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's unbelievable. That really is something.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I would just like to comment, congratulations to our student athletes also, and may the day you finish your high school athletic career not be the best day of your athletic condition in your life, because what happens when you get out of high school and out of college is this, and you don't want that. So, my nephew finished second in the state at Campbell County High School in wrestling in 2002, and when Jake walked off the mat that day. That's what I told him is, boy, you're in really good shape today, Jake. Don't let this be the high point. So congratulations to all of you. And Jim, did you mention one of our athletes was,
He was on the superintendent's
Advisory team. yeah.
advisory team, Devon was.
outstanding,
And he was part of that state championship team from last year.
smart, good looking, and athletic. He's got it all. He's got it all. So congratulations, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to present school records tonight as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next item, equally as important, is Business Professionals of America National Competition Recognition. Dr. Jackson.
I'm going to again turn it over to Mrs. Pauletta Crowley, who will
Yes.
introduce our speakers.
It is our distinct pleasure tonight to recognize 6 students who were involved with the Butler Tech Northwest Local School District Business Professionals of America competition, not at the state level this time, but at the national level. So they scored very well. Mr. Peter Clark is their advisor for this for the class and the competition. His son is had surgery today and he is not here. So Mrs. Susan Smith is going to fill in for him. Our students placed nationally in the financial literacy contest, accounting, I believe, and technology. So financial analyst, accounting and technology. So she'll bring them up one at a time to introduce them.
Hi, how are you guys? I love when special recognition includes just things from Northwest High School, so we'll take a minute and celebrate that for a second. No, I'm proud of my athletes and also proud of our students who are here tonight who are part of Business Professionals of America. All of them are part of our financial services program, which is one of our programs housed at Northwest High School. Like Pauletta said, that Mr. Peter Clark teaches, and it's in partnership with Butler Tech. And every year he has a waiting list to get into his program. Every year we have students who rearrange their schedules to be with Mr. Clark because they love him so much. So it's unfortunate he could not be here tonight because he would go on and on about his program, which he should because it's fantastic. So first I'm going to bring up Fox Moeller. Fox scored 8th in payroll this year at Nationals. So we're going to give him a plaque to start. Congratulations, Fox. And then we have a team of students who scored 3rd in the nation for financial analysts, and that is Jamie R., Gage Smith, who couldn't be here tonight, Alex Bungabong, and Alex Roloffs, who are both here. Oh, and Daniel Harsh, who's a Colerain High School student. And he earned 6th place in computer network technology. Congratulations.
Again, Mr. Unger and Dr. Jackson, if you could come down. And then time for
While we're waiting, Mr. Harsh, I see your mom, Karen, my neighbor back there, your grandparents, both your grandma and your grandpa were teachers here with the Northwest School District. Colerain High School and Montford Heights Elementary. So I guess you got the smart gene as your mother did from parents. And congratulations to you all.
just want to say, too, real quick, congratulations to all of you. This is pretty impressive when you look in this room, the talent in this room, and we're talking national level, so I certainly hope we see this featured in the Northwest Press. Congratulations.
I'd like to congratulate everybody too, and certainly our outstanding track team and our biz whizzes over here who are really creating some positive buzz and positive news for our community. It's outstanding to see. Thank you.
And our next item will be our legislative update by Board Representative, Mr. Harlow.
Thank you, Mr. Unger. As I mentioned last week, the legislature's kind of been on hiatus. However, the Ohio State Board of Education still meets, and a couple things that are brewing there of interest. One is that the comprehensive grade on the state report cards may be pushed back another year. They're probably looking at about 2015, 2016 now, and there's a possible tweak in the graduation requirements as a result of kind of a drafting error in the conference committee version of the mid-biennial review, which probably doesn't really affect us, but just has to clarify what's required in the science graduation requirements. And so that's pretty much it. But that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Harlow. Our next item is Butler Tech update. Mr. Detzel?
Yeah, Dan, just one quick thing. The bioscience building is moving along, the construction and that. And if you go on the Butler Tech website, there's a icon. See, I can't remember if it's in the left-hand corner or right-hand corner. They're going to have pictures, moving cameras, so you can see the progress that's going on. So you just got to click on there and follow what they're asking, so you can kind of keep an eye on it. The actual construction probably won't be starting for another 3-4 weeks. Then you'll be able to see some progress on that.
And for anyone who wants to know, that's on, if you're coming down I-75 south and look up at the Cincinnati-Dayton Road exit.
Yeah,
you'll
well,
see
yeah.
it there on the,
If you're going north before you get to the exit, it's right on the left-hand side. You can see it a lot better than you come down. You're heading
Sure.
south. You'll pass by it before you realize
on the,
where it's at.
southwest corner of the interchange.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim, what's the total cost of that building
It's $14 million.
and the expected completion date?
Beginning of next school year.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Hey, I encourage everybody to stop by and have a look. It'll be a great thing. Thank you, Mr. Detzel. Our next item is a report from employee organizations. Is there someone here who would like to speak from our classified employees? Hearing none. From our certificated licensed employees? Getting the shake? From school-related organizations? And community comments. I didn't receive any yellow cards. I thought I saw, did you fill one out? No, sir. Okay. So no one has filled out a card to speak. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the financial reports of the treasurer. Larry? Dr. Jackson?
Well, you have several financial reports of the treasurer. I don't know if Randy wants to make a few comments on it. Is he here, or?
I think he's out in the hallway.
Okay. These are the standard financial reports for the month of June. So the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I know earlier when we planned the meeting, there was a report somewhere on the agenda tonight where we're going to make an amendment to it because of a typo. Is that one of these?
No, that's the appropriations.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call for a vote. And the motion carries 5-0. And we'll move on to our next item.
Yes, we have the certificated resignations, retirements.
This jumped all over the place. This just jumped on me. We've been using our,
12-1's right there. Oh.
Can you click on previous, or? Are you able to click on previous to get to it, or?
let's see, I got report from school-related organizations, community comments.
10.2 we're on.
Okay, 10.2. Is it 10.2?
Yes.
Okay. We've had this system for about a year. There's 1 or 2 bugs left in it. So, Dr. Jackson?
Yes, we have 3 extra duty resignations and 3 procedural extra duty resignations. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And I would like to mention this meeting was posted Friday on our website, so anyone that wants to see what we're going to be talking about has at least 48, if not 72 hours to review the meeting. Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is classified personnel.
Yes, we have 1 classified resignation. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Somebody thinks it's funny out there in the hall. Hearing none, Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a fiscal item. Dr. Jackson.
Yes, we have a couple of fund-to-fund transfers where the Colerain High School class of 2014 will be transferred to the class of 2015, $26,400.43. And the Northwest High School class of 2014 will transfer to the class of 2015, $1,449. So the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the fund-to-fund transfer item as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a temporary appropriation for fiscal year 2015 correction.
Yeah, I was going to have Randy explain this. This is where the appropriations was brought to the board. There was a typo. The food service appropriation should have been $3.5 million. It was incorrectly listed as $350,000. So that'll get us through about a month. So if the board wants students to have lunch in October, they'll need to approve this item. So the treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the FY15 temporary appropriation correction as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion?
I'm all in favor of healthy choices and losing weight, but we should feed the students in October, no doubt, and every month thereafter, no doubt about it.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Next item is resolution to declare a student impractical to transport.
Yes, we had one late addition to our list to declare impractical to transport. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the resolution to declare student impractical to transport as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is the Transportation Handbook.
Yes, this was presented at the last meeting on July 21st, so it's brought back for approvals. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2014-15 Transportation Handbook as presented at the July 21st board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is the legal services contract.
Yes, I met with the new law firm on Friday with representatives. There's 4 attorneys there, 2 from Finney Law. One was John Buchanan, the other one was Gary Greenberg. And they sent us this contract today. I tried to email it to the board ahead of time so you could see it. But this is basically a 3-year term for the contract, and the rate sheet is as was proposed and approved by the board. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the legal services contract as presented at an effective date of August 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I will vote for this, Andrew, to follow your recommendation, but I struggle with this decision.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is certificated licensed personnel items.
Okay, before we move into the certificated licensed personnel, I do want to turn it over to Mrs. Tracy Ray, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. We recently hired 2 administrators. She's going to introduce those 2 administrators, and she's also going to give us an update on the hiring process, where we are so far this summer.
Northwest Local School District would like to welcome Brenda Miller as the Supervisor of Instructional Accountability Services. Brenda comes to us from Princeton City School District, where she served as a district instructional coach. Prior to that, she served as the principal of Lincoln Heights Elementary School from 2009 to 2012. Brenda has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Bellet College, a master's degree and educational specialist degree in school psychology from Miami University, and a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Cincinnati. Brenda is going to stand and introduce who her support system is here with her tonight.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm here this evening with my husband, Caleb Miller. And it's a pleasure to be here this evening and have our first opportunity to meet you and be part of the Northwest team. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming Brenda to her new role. We'd also like to introduce Adam Biedenbach. Adam Biedenbach is the Colerain Elementary School Assistant Principal. Adam joined the Northwest family in 2004 at Ann Weigel Elementary School as a seed teacher. He taught at Beavis Elementary School from 2005 to 2012. He then moved to Ann Weigel Elementary as an instructional coach. Adam has a bachelor's degree from Anderson University in elementary education, a master's degree from Walden University in elementary reading and literacy, and a master's degree from the University of Cincinnati in educational leadership. Adam is going to stand and introduce his family this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I brought with me my daughter, Annie, my wife, Erin, and my parents, Karen and Bruce Biedenbach, and I'd just like to say I'm thrilled to continue my career here in Northwest. Growing up in the district, it's been great to come back and tonight to see the students. I taught on the Northwest side for years, and some of those were former students, so it was a good thrill to see them and be here long enough to see them coming to fruition as they're ready to head off to college or career. So it's a thrill and a pleasure.
Please join me in welcoming Adam to his
Okay, thank you.
Gonna take a minute to give a higher, that's all right, a higher update. Is this one you want to read? Okay. And so it's been a very busy season in human resources. And so we have hired 3 administrators, 60 teachers we're going to need to hire. We have 7 left to be hired. We still have a few resignations kind of trickling in, kind of some, different types of situations. Now we're going to roll into hiring about 30 tutors for both our district and the non-public schools that we support. We have about 16 tutors that we still need to hire. And it's actually fairly early to be hiring the tutors, so that's gone very smoothly and very well. We also have classified support that are necessary to keep our schools running. We have a total of 60 classified hires this summer that we'll need to do. We have filled 42 positions, and we have 18 remaining, and I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Birdsong for all his hard work in that area. So that's the hiring update.
Thank you, Mrs. Ray. So in front of you is the certificated licensed personnel items. We have 3 initial appointments, 1 change in status, 9 extra duty contracts, and 1 band assistant. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved. Second.
A motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. The motion carries 5-0.
And the next item?
The next item is under certificated license. This is JHG, Board Policy Reporting Child Abuse. The reason why this is on the agenda, because at the last meeting, we presented the certificated handbook, and one of the changes requested by the board was that we, instead of saying we would do the child abuse training within 2 years, that we would do it upon employment. So that handbook was just a reiteration of the policy. So the policy has been changed to show that basically upon employment, you will receive that training for child abuse. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the revised board policy JHG as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'd like to say thank you for getting that change in place. I think it's important, and our district is continually striving to improve our policy. So thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is the certificated and licensed staff handbook.
And this is the handbook that was presented last week, last board meeting, with the one change in it, which is policy JHG, reporting child abuse. So superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2014-15 certificated and licensed staff handbook as presented.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I just lost it.
Hearing none, Pam's got a little technical problem, and we'll let her catch up for a moment. These handbooks will be, after this meeting is done and it's encapsulated into minutes, these handbooks, I guess, are available for anyone who wants to see them on the district website. Is there a path to get there?
Well, they're for anyone in the public that wants to see them, they have to go to the ESB website to see them. For internally, we do it on the internet, but they can review them right here on this website.
And that's been one of the benefits of going to this system, is it makes everything available to the public, and if you have any problems finding anything, you can always contact the district office to get a little guidance how to find it, but
I made it.
I think we're back now. So Larry, I'll have you go ahead and call for a vote, and the motion carries 5-0.
That was quick.
Panic.
Next item.
It just disappeared on me.
I was having that same problem. The next item is classified personnel items.
Yes, on the classified approvals, you have 9 initial appointments and 7 changes in status. Many of those are a result of several of our schools offering free and reduced breakfast. In the past, we have not offered breakfast at all of our buildings. The federal and state program on free and reduced lunch requires that once you achieve a certain percentage of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch, you are required to offer breakfast as well. So we have basically every one of our elementaries will be offering breakfast next year, and to make that work, we had to increase the hours for some of our employees. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved. Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, on the on the additions for breakfast, is there reimbursement? Does the reimbursement from the federal government also increase with that?
Yes.
Breakfast is offered? Okay.
Yes, it will probably cover the cost plus some additional. That program is self-sufficient, so we make enough money from sales and government reimbursement to pay for it.
Andrew, how many, what's the percentage overall of all the schools with kids on the program?
Overall, district-wide, we are just shy of 50%. This year's numbers haven't been released yet, so I don't know the exact numbers, but last year was 49.9% that qualified for free or reduced lunch.
And what's the state average?
Oh, I'm not sure what that is, but I can find out for
Probably
you.
somewhere in the 30s.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry? The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a classified personnel item.
Yes, I'm going to call on Mr. Jamie Birdsong, the Assistant Director for Human Resources, that worked on this proposal for the board regarding the health assistant salary schedule.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Board members, we have 2 attachments in ESB tonight. One is a memo explaining why we would like to make this change with our health assistants. Just to highlight a couple things, we did a study with other districts on what they pay their health assistants, as well as internally within other classifications of jobs with our assistants. Our health assistants are paid on our classified assistant salary schedule. That is the other attachment with the proposed change to that. A couple things to consider. We require all of our health assistants now that are hired to be either an LPN or an RN. That requires either a 2-year or 4-year degree. And in other classifications, if we require a 2 or 4-year degree, we are paying those employees at a higher rate. The other thing to consider is the day-to-day tasks of the health room. We have a lot more medically fragile kids in our buildings, a lot of them on medications, allergies, diabetic students. We have some trachs, we have feeding tubes, things that our health assistants are required to take care of for the needs of those students. So with that, we would like to request the board's approval to move the health assistants. Those that are non-licensed, we do have 3 that are grandfathered in from a starting pay of $11.74 to $12.58, and our licensed nurses from a starting pay of $14.95 to $15.83. The attached salary schedule for you to approve is there, and you can see the range from the beginning step through the highest step. Questions?
Are those, how many hours is that position every week?
It depends on the building. Generally speaking, it's 6.5. We do have some that are around 7 hours. 16 total employees.
A day.
A day, yes.
I know that.
Well, you asked a week, so I just-
Oh, I'm sorry.
I run the math pretty quick in my head, thank you. Is there any other just questions for Mr. Birdsall? Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the health assistant salary schedule as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. And then we have the classified handbook, Dr. Jackson.
Yes, this was the handbook that was presented at the July 21st board meeting. So without any changes from that presentation, so the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2014 classified handbook as presented.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is curriculum and instruction, Dr. Jackson.
Yes, this was a field trip for the Corwin High School band that I inadvertently instructed Mrs. Belus to put it on the meeting for this evening, not realizing that they were traveling last night to out of state in West Harrison in the middle of the storms, I'm sure. So I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. But that is for the band camp from July 27th through August 1st. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the field trip item as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or comments or anything anybody would like to make?
They're going all the way out to West Harrison.
Well, they already,
It is out of state.
They're already missed. Okay.
they were out, that's out in, I think if you get off at Brookville, exit,
I know
go
where it
west
is.
and take a left on 46 and over
Yeah.
to 30.
You can probably see a welcome to Ohio
He
sign.
goes past it on his way home every day, so.
Yes, since they did not have board approval, I personally chaperoned them last night.
Appreciate that.
Not really, but
Maybe,
They could stop by your house if they needed anything.
you know, there would be an opportunity for you to stop by and see him though, wouldn't there?
yes, good. I'm sure they'd be happy to see me.
As happy as we are. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry? The motion carries 5-0. Next item is grading and reporting handbooks.
Yes, these are the grading and reporting handbooks that were also presented at the July 21st meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the K-8 grading and reporting handbook and the high school grading procedures documents as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Next item is student services. Dr. Jackson.
Yes, about a year ago, The board directed me to come up with a procedure for adding sports at our high school, which we've done, and we have our first proposal submitted. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Pauletta Crawley, who will present this, who worked with the gentleman, Mr. Denoma, on this proposal.
Yes, thank you. Approximately 1 year ago, Mr. Kevin Denoma, a parent and community member, approached the board regarding boys volleyball at Colerain High School. We have not added a sport to either of our schools in quite some time, so we did come up with the process for adding a team to our district. And the addition of a school or district athletic team would require entry into a club organization prior to becoming a bona fide district program. So Mr. Denoma and I did quite a bit of research on the club organizations here in Cincinnati pertaining to boys volleyball. And Mr. Denoma did quite a bit of homework here. He did work with a sanctioned club organization and looked at the cost involved in setting up this league and a team for our district, including the minimum number of students, costs for coaching, time for practice, league fees, all of those things, and then an approved avenue to be used to determine the level of interest of our students. We did survey the students, and we put quite a number of messages out to the students, and Mr. Denoma received 17 interested students. He held a parent meeting to see the level of interest in a club sport and shared the information regarding the cost with those parents and students. And based on the level of interest and the cost required, and by the way, there is no cost to the district. This is all on the club costs, so the students and their parents absorb those costs. The only affiliation we have with the district is the use of the Colerain High School name as a club sport. That will allow Mr. Denoma to apply for 2 grants that would allow him some startup costs for equipment. So we do have the minimum, more than the minimum number of students committed to participate in the club sport. They would utilize our facilities. If it is after hours, they would be charged the same fee as anyone else who would be utilizing the facilities. So we would love to have this proposal brought to you, and I would highly recommend this proposed boys club volleyball team so that he can move forward and begin to look for a coach for the team. Boys volleyball occurs in the spring, early spring, so it is a spring sport, and we would need to advertise for a coach. He would need to advertise for a coach, and then we would need to put aside some time for practice and games.
Paula, since this is a club sport, what about the kids at Northwest High School? Would they have the opportunity, if some of them were interested, to play in club volleyball?
Mr. Denoma and I did speak about that. Curious to know what the interest would be initially, and right now we have enough interest for a team of boys club volleyball. And if this year goes well, Mr. Denoma, you can help me if you'd like to. We do plan to open it up, and I did suggest to Northwest High School today at their coaches meeting that this may go through, so that if there is interest there, they could set up their own club, or they could become part of this, and we could possibly have a JV and a varsity team next year if the interest is there. We also discussed looking at middle school 8th graders to see if they were interested, but because, again, we have the interest level, we didn't want to do that at this time because you have too many kids on a team and the playing time becomes an issue. So,
I'd be open to helping facilitate any interest at Northwest or
Yeah, like if there was 3 or 4 kids over there that wanted to play, just so they have, since it's a club sport, they got the opportunity, to join the team.
if the board agrees to this, we'd like to get the inaugural year off the ground.
Sure.
With all the planning that's been done and see how
So
that goes.
if this is a go, we couldn't say anything to Northwest now, hey, what's your interest, or is there any interest, since it's a spring sport? We've got plenty of time to see if there's any kids interested, is my, that would be my, I mean,
Right, and I
I think that would be pretty easy to do.
I mentioned it to Mr. Pollitt and the coaches at Northwest today, so they're thinking that over.
Good. And now,
But we don't want to saturate one team. We do have a minimum number of students that are required, and then a maximum that you would like to have on a team.
Sure. What is the number of, Does Title IX come into this at all?
No, this is a club sport, so it really has no
Okay.
affiliation to the district. Again, no cost to us.
Okay.
The only affiliation is the fact that they will use the Colerain name in order to be eligible for the grant monies.
And how long does it have to be a club sport before it can be recognized as a regular sport, like every,
Our process determined 5 years. That way,
Okay.
if we have a freshman group of kids interested in starting a sport or a club organization, we don't want to lose that interest
Sure.
when those kids graduate 4 years later. So if the interest remains after 5 years, then the consideration would be made to make it a bona fide sport. for the
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, I'm assuming, like our liability insurance would cover just like if...
No, Mr. Denoma had to go out and he is in a bona fide club organization, and then we'll have to provide liability insurance like any other group that would rent our facilities.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
They need a certificate of liability that would cover any injury.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Okay. I think this is great.
It sounds like you've put quite a bit of time and effort. I vaguely recall you being here about a year ago. Congratulations on your persistence.
Thank you.
And doesn't
I've
your
learned a lot more about the sport.
Doesn't your son run cross country?
He does.
Okay.
Well, actually, he ran track this year.
Yeah.
Now he's out cross-country camp out at Houston Woods
Yeah.
today.
I saw him up there. I was there today.
Great. Exciting.
And I would just like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to submit a letter of interest and proposal. As you know, over a year ago, I stood here before you proposing the idea with only my 2 sons. Today I'm representing 17 sophomore, junior, and senior boys who are interested in playing on the team, or playing on a team, as well as the support of parents and other adults at Colerain. I hope a favorable recommendation will be made by the board in time frame that allows us to find a coach, as Mrs. Crowley said, schedule facilities, schedule opponents, and sign up new prospects in the incoming class this fall. Thank you again, Superintendent Jackson, for the opportunity to present a new sports option at Colerain and giving them an opportunity to play as a club in the sport of boys volleyball. And a special thank you to Mrs. Crawley for her assistance throughout this process.
I also want to mention that even though we will have this as a club sport, Mr. Denova has connected with the other area high schools, and some of the high schools have it as a club sport and some have it as an actual sport for them. So he will be playing teams that have boys volleyball as one of their authentic sports, and then also high school teams who have it as a club sport.
The association we would be joining is Ohio High School Boys Volleyball Association, which has such teams as Elder and St. X and Loveland and all of the GMC schools as well as members. So it would give us the opportunity to play same schools in our league.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, is this just a matter of, could I make a motion to,
I think it's already a recommendation.
okay.
The superintendent recommends the Board of Education
Andrew, why don't
approve the proposal for the addition of boys club volleyball at Colerain High School as presented.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion?
Just a kind of an aside to this, there was some discussion, Andrew, several months ago about the Colerain and Northwest logos. And that the fact that, and you're more than welcome, if this passes, to certainly use the name and the logo. But that had not been trademarked, and I was in Myers the other night, and they had tons of Colerain and Northwest attire that a private printer, and we get no residuals from. Have we made any move at all to trademark our logos?
I did a little bit of research on that, and they tried several years ago to trademark the logo at Colerain High School, but they never got it completed. So I guess it got rather complicated. I think part of the issue is our logo is similar to some other logos. So how do you trademark a logo that a lot of other places are using when it may not be unique? So that was kind of the issue. I'm not sure about the Northwest High School logo.
Yeah, the reason, and I never had given it any thought, but when you think about the logo not being trademarked, just as the Washington Redskins, I'm not going to make any comment whether that's good or bad, but anybody now can use that logo and profit off of it. And can you imagine on Colerain Avenue, the Colerain Tattoo Parlor with the Colerain Cardinal? Perfectly legal. It's not trademarked. So I know we changed the beak color with Louisville. There's argument who had it first, but ours is identical to theirs, and there's about a zillion different cardinal things out there. I'd hate to change it. I suggest maybe we call them and have them change theirs. But kidding. But I think it is something that we need to address. I can just see what's going to happen with the Washington Redskins this year with the logo no longer trademarked.
Well, Chris, they got 6 patents on that. I did a little research on that, and that is held up for 5 more years.
This is in court cases.
They
5 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got 5 years to figure it out.
Figure it out. Okay. Well,
that happened about 15 or 16 years ago, and they went to court over that, and
they won it that time.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was 15 or 16 years
ago.
ago.
Yeah. So they're going to try that again, but
Yeah.
it usually takes 5 years before they even hear it.
Okay. All right. Well, just a thing that I think we should keep our eye on and see where it goes.
Well, thank you. We'll watch for the uniforms for the volleyball boys club to see how they turn out. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry, please call for vote. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations on your hard work. Our next item will be appointment of a delegate and an alternate for the annual business meeting of the Ohio School Boards Association.
Yes, the board needs to appoint a delegate and an alternate for the meeting in November. In the past, we've used the legislative liaison as the delegate, but the board's prerogative to do what they
Well,
want.
I'll nominate Michael.
Second. Any discussion?
I accept.
Okay.
Probably going anyway.
And do we need an alternate?
Yes, we need an alternate.
Okay, Dan.
I'll nominate Jim Detzel. Chris?
With my work scheduled in, I can't commit to it.
Michael can't do it because he is. Jim, sounds like you got it.
I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
Michael, you better be there.
The superintendent recommends the Board of Education appoint Michael Harlow as delegate and Jim Detzel as alternate for the OSBA annual meeting.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded.
Nice.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Larry? The motion carries 5-0. We'll go on to our next item. Food Standards Compliance Notification. Dr.
We have
Jackson.
several items for information. This is one of them. This is just with the new food standards regulations from the federal government. We have to simply notify the board that we are compliant with those new food standards. So that's a memo from Todd Bowling notifying the board that we are compliant with the food standards.
Any questions for the superintendent? Hearing none, we'll go on to the next item. Revised board policy, standards-based teacher evaluation. Dr. Jackson?
Yes, this is another board policy that will be brought, it's for information tonight, will be brought back to the board for approval. And the state legislature made several changes to the teacher evaluation regulations, so I'll turn this over to Mrs. Tracy Ray, and she will explain the changes that we need to do to comply with state law.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. You'll see in either bold or red or strike through some minor changes, and then there are 4 kind of more important changes to reflect the passage of House Bill 362, which will go into effect mid-September this year. And so I want to draw your attention to the major changes beginning on page 5, and that is in order to help offset the amount of observations and evaluations that were required under the old law. They have made some accommodations for teachers who have continuing contract and who have been deemed accomplished in their evaluation and have at or above student growth measures. They will be formally evaluated every 3 years. And kind of to piggyback off of that, those teachers who have continuing contract in our district who were deemed skilled as a final evaluation and who have at or above student growth measures will be formally evaluated every 2 years. And so that will help alleviate some of the workload for the administrators as we, continue to tweak and implement the teacher evaluation system. Another thing this year that didn't make a lot of sense to many people, and it has been changed, is we did have, especially this year and next year, we're seeing a lot of teachers retire, and they didn't have a provision for alleviating the entire formal process for those teachers, many of whom had, resigned for retirement purposes in December, and then everybody still had to go through all the process, and you had to submit their scores and everything to the state. So you'll see on page 6 that anyone who the board approves for retirement by December 1st will not have to be evaluated at that point. And then also, we didn't really have any teachers to speak of. Well, we did have one that moved in December, but any teacher who is on leave from the district for 50% or more of the year will not be evaluated in that year. That was kind of another thing that we bumped into. We have run this policy by the teacher evaluation team, as all things, keeping them in the loop with these changes. And so we will bring this back for approval at the August 11th meeting.
Tracy, when we hire a brand new teacher, say a first-year teacher, how many times are they actually getting evaluated?
3.
And that's by the principal every time, or somebody?
An administrator.
Administrator.
Or, yeah, the assistant
Gotcha.
principal.
Okay.
Yeah, at the high schools and middle schools.
Any questions on that? That'll be brought back to the board at the next meeting for
So if
approval.
anybody has any questions after they go through it, please communicate with Dr. Jackson and ask those questions. I'll certainly take a good read at it.
Okay.
Our next item is curriculum and instruction. Dr. Jackson.
Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Darrell Yater. He's our Assistant Director of Curriculum and Special Education that will present 4 new high school courses for special ed students.
Yeah, tonight we're submitting 4 courses for your information that are at the high school level, 1 in each grade level. These 4 courses for our special education students will allow them 1 elective credit, and during that bell with their intervention specialist, they will be working on their specific goals and objectives in their IEP. They will also be receiving specially designed instruction that will support them in the acquiring skills in their core academic classes, as well as in 9th and 10th grade, they will be receiving instruction that allows them to develop skills around time management, conflict resolution, study skills, so that they can develop the skills and strategies necessary to be successful in an independent setting. So those will be done in 9th and 10th grade. At 11th and 12th grade, their teachers are going to also work with them on post-secondary options, being able to identify and articulate not only their career pathway after high school, but the pathway in which they need to accomplish that, as well as working on some guided activities to help develop 21st century learning skills such as cooperative group work, problem solving, critical thinking, so that they are prepared for the career or college pathway in which they choose. So we're presenting those tonight as an item for information, and that will come back next time as an action item. Any questions about those courses?
Yes. Is this going to be a requirement for all special education students, or just kind of on an as-needed basis?
It is not. It is going to be for individual students that the teacher and the counselor and the administrator deem that this would be inappropriate. It's not going to be for every student, just the ones who specifically need this kind of instruction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is revised board policy concerning student suspensions and expulsions. Dr. Jackson.
Yeah, this is also an item for information that will be brought back at the August 11th meeting for approval. And for several years, we've hired an attorney to hear expulsion appeals. So the board policy has never been updated. So this strikes out the comments in the board policy where they come in front of the board in exec session, because that no longer happens. So we just made that changes regarding policy JGD to be more accurate in what we're doing.
So as a part of the process, if a student is not satisfied with their hearing with the expulsion appeal, then they move on from our attorney to the common pleas court? Or?
Correct.
Okay. Correct. And if anyone has any questions on that, please contact Dr. Jackson. Our next item is our harassment, intimidation, and bullying report.
I'm going to turn it over again to Mrs. Pauletta Crawley, Assistant Director of Student Services, and she's going to update the board on this year's harassment, intimidation, and bullying report.
Yes, we are required each year to record and report the number of HIB incidences in our schools, official incidences. In this second semester, we had 5 official bullying forms filled out, 1 at the elementary level, 1 at the high school level, and 3 at the middle school level. And as you might guess, they were regarding situations where there was name calling one day and they were friends 3 days later. But when an official report is filed, the building administrators do have to do an investigative search to determine whether or not it's legitimate bullying or not. All 5 were considered not legitimate bullying cases, and letters are sent home to the parents notifying them that an investigation took place, and the investigation determined that it was not bullying, and the parents seem to be satisfied with that in all 5 cases. Any questions?
The one at Ann Weigel, was that a verified case?
No, it is
Okay,
not.
so that's part of the 5 total, and,
For the second semester, yes.
okay.
I just wanted to comment, based on what you would see and hear on the media, you would think there's thousands of cases. You have 1 verified case for the entire school year in the Northwest School District.
Correct.
Yeah. Shoot, that doesn't sound like it's, I mean, 1 is too many, but I'm just kind of surprised at the numbers, Pauletta, that they're so low.
Correct. Well, the definition of bullying is an act that takes place over time, more than one time. I do believe that all of our schools have terrific programs in place. And again, we've been diligent in notifying parents that that form is in every handbook, it's in the building offices. And when I receive phone calls regarding issues such as this, I do let parents know that an official form is there if they wish to pursue it. But it's been my experience that most of the time, for example, the 3 middle school kids, they're friends one day, enemies the next, and they can say some pretty hurtful, mean things, and then they come back the next day and
They're friends.
it's all different. So,
Mr. Unger, just to clarify your question, the one at Ann Weigel was first semester, and it was verified as a incident of bullying, but that was first semester. Second semester, there weren't any at Ann Weigel.
Okay.
So that was, I think, for the columns there, that was first semester.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, Pauletta, and we will move on to the athletic handbook, Dr. Jackson.
Again, we have another item for information that will be brought back at the next meeting for approval, and it is the athletic handbook. There'll be 2 changes that we're recommending. One is we are currently, with new law, required to allow homeschool, community school, and non-public school participation in athletics, assuming they meet certain criteria. You know, there can't be a program like that in their school if they're non-public, et cetera. And then also, if you'll remember back in the spring, we had several overnight field trip requests for athletics where they were going to a state tournament and they were coming to the board after the fact. So we changed it to allow the superintendent to approve those and not the Board of Education. So those 2 changes are in the handbook, which we brought back to the next meeting for approval.
So we will not have any more out-of-state field trips to approve?
Just overnight for state tournament only is what that's for.
Okay.
So you may have
So
some
band
other
and
overnight.
the other things will still
Correct.
come up?
It's just athletics, yes, for state tournaments. What was happening is they'd qualify on Saturday and it would be the next Thursday or Friday before a board meeting. So it just, you know, in terms of the timing of it, it wasn't working out.
Are there any other questions? We'll move on to the next item. The treasurer search update.
Yeah, what I put at your place is a 4-fold pamphlet with the changes on the timeline. If you see it on the inside, and we also added some pictures in there. If you look at the timeline, you'll see what we decided. If everyone's agreeable, that we would announce it tomorrow, get it out. The application deadline would be the 22nd of August, and we start interviews the week of August 25th, and then employ September 22nd, which is the second meeting in September.
And does this designate the
Yes, everything gets mailed to
To the
Dan
district.
Unger, board president, at this location. And then
So it'll
stay
be in
on-
envelopes here at this office.
They won't be open, they'll stay here in
Okay.
that office. So if everyone's okay with that, if you have any concerns, let me know. If not, I'll work with HR and my secretary to get those sent out to the various locations to get them posted. We'll put it on our website. We're going to mail this brochure to all the districts in Hamilton County and the surrounding counties. And then we're going to post a different format, the same information in a different format will get posted on our webpage. And we'll use OSBA, OASBO, BASTA, the various professional organizations to put it on their job boards as well and put it on our website. And then Efron and Associates as well as a local headhunter that the districts use will actually put it on his as well.
I believe if we contract with ASBO for some of our financial reporting, the National ASBO, that we can post there as well.
I'll have a look into that. Okay.
Thank you for assisting the board with this.
Sure.
Any other questions?
That concludes the superintendent's items.
We'll move on to the next item, which is community comments and questions. If there's someone in the audience who would like to ask a question about something that's been specifically discussed this evening, please approach the microphone. Seeing no one, we will move on to the next item, executive session.
Yes, the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed. The motion is to move in executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, and to conference with an attorney concerning disputes that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Dan, normally, and maybe I'm missing it or I didn't hear it, but normally when we say this, it'll say there'll be no action.
Right, I was going to mention that after we voted on it. So after we conclude our executive session, we will return to this room only to adjourn the meeting. There'll be no action taken. Any other discussion? Larry, please call for a vote. The motion carries 5-0. And other board items, Mr. Detzel,
I don't have any tonight, Dan.
Mr. Harlow.
This is Randy Bertram's last meeting, and certainly wish you well. Think you did very well for the district, and had some, just in the short time that we worked together, had some innovative and very effective cost-saving proposals. I think Middletown is receiving an excellent treasurer, and just one final comment, go Bucks.
Pam? Mr. Heater?
Yeah, enjoy that short ride, Randy. When you get in that car on your first day, you think about the 20 minutes versus the hour and 20 minutes, and I bet you'll have a big smile on your face. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
I would have a question. How are our summer improvement programs coming along? I think we're redoing the auditorium over at Colling High School.
Todd could not be here this evening because he is having some issues with his father he had to take care of, but they're going along very well. I visited several of them, and they're moving along quite nicely. The two auditoriums will not be ready for the start of school, which we knew. They're going to be probably about 2 months or 2 weeks into the start of the school. But everything's going quite well. We haven't had any problems whatsoever. Everything's on schedule. I will be sure that Todd gives an update to the board at the next meeting with some more specifics.
I looked in on the basketball floor there in the gymnasium. It was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't completely done, but it was good.
Sounds great. And that would be my only comment, but I would like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. We appreciate your attendance here. And we're not going to motion to adjourn. We've already motioned to go to executive session, so that'll be when we come back. So thank you all for coming.
I think they want you to sign some stuff before you head out, Dan.